Blog Talk Radio. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Medlock Post radio show. This is where we educate, entertain, enlighten, and empower. The views and opinions on the Medlock Post radio show are those of the host and guests. They are not necessarily the views and opinions of Blog Talk Radio, Spreaker.com, its corporations, affiliates, or any other podcast streaming services. Thank you for joining the show today, and here is your host, Richard G. Medlock.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Richard Medlock, your host. Today is August 22nd, 2022, or if you do it by numbers, it's 8/22/22, and if you add that all together, it comes to 52, which is probably a meaningless number right now because it's not 52 days till Christmas. So the title of episode 41 of our podcast is Building Unity in the Community. And you're probably starting to think of ways to accomplish building unity in the community. And that's a good thing to think. Are you thinking of changes politically, better schools, more businesses and jobs? Those are all good things, but there are other ways that we can be building a better community. And to start, I'd like to tell a story of my paternal grandparents, Earl and Pearl Medlock. Yes, Earl and Pearl. And my father and his younger brother. Well, they were sharecroppers. They're farmers, but they were sharecroppers. And a sharecropper is someone that works and farms the land that's owned by someone else. And they get of what they grow and produce. And normally it's just enough to get by. And my parents or my grandparents were lucky to have a 4-room house, 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a small living room. Sometimes you only had a 1-room house that the owner of the land would give to the sharecroppers. And there was a wood stove to cook in the kitchen and a wood stove in the living room for heat. Now, the reason I'm telling you this story is that, and this was the 20s and 30s, the Great Depression, rough economic times, and this was in South Carolina. But one day, there was a knock at the door. My grandfather went to the door, and there was a little, about 6-year-old black boy standing there. And my granddad says, "What can I do for you?" And he says, "Well, we live about a half a mile or so down the road, and sir, we don't have any food. I'm just wondering if you could share with us." And my grandfather invited him in. And my grandmother that morning had cooked 2 loaves of bread, and of course they had milked the cow. So they gave the young man a loaf of bread and some milk, and he was on his way. Well, during the winter time, and this was winter when it was happening, the young man came back 3 or 4 times with the same question: "Can you help us? We have no food." And they did help. They gave them what they could. And I used to think, my dad used to tell me that story over and over, and it was to impress me in myself and my brother that we are to give no matter what. So that's why he kept telling us. And I grew up, my dad was like that. We were trained to give, to serve. Well, my father passed away in 2004, and after the funeral and going to the cemetery, we're back at the church, and we're eating the family meal. And I'm sitting there with my uncle, who was there, who witnessed all this, and that story came up. And he said, my uncle said, would you like to hear the rest of the story? And I said, what do you mean? He says, and my uncle, when Pearl Harbor was attacked, my uncle joined the Army Air Corps, and my dad joined the Navy. And after the war was over, my uncle went into civil service and was an airplane mechanic at Air Force bases the rest of his career. And in the late 60s, he ended up in Charleston, where he finished his career. And he was a supervisor of a shift, and they were out by a plane one day, and his supervisor was walking out with a black man, and came up and he said, Mr. Medlock, here's a new member of your crew, and his name is, and I can't remember his name. And so he introduced him to everybody, and the man turned to my uncle and said, I used to know some Medlocks way back in Anderson when I was a young boy. And he said, Mr. Medlock gave our family food that winter. And he says, if he had not given us food, we might have starved to death. Now, that is a story, and every time I tell it, I get chills up and down my body. But it's an interesting story about what we're going to talk about today. But it also reminds me of Matthew 25, verses 35 through 39. And I'm just going to paraphrase real quick. Hungered, gave me meat. Thirsty, gave me drink. Stranger, took me in. Naked, clothed me. Sick, visited me. Prison, I was in prison, and you came into me. And then the Lord teaches us this, quote, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, you have done it unto me, unquote. So that brings us to this question. Is serving others in our communities one way of building unity in the community? Now, with us today, we have a couple of guests that are going to help us answer that question. And one of the guests is the North American Southeast Area Director of JustServe.org, which covers 12 southern states. Having fallen in love with the mission and the resource, she has spent 5 years volunteering her time and efforts to the cause, working side by side with like-minded people who she would never meet in an average day. Kathy has come to call volunteerism as one of her most favorite interests, and Kathy feels that when she serves, she is fulfilling her greatest potential for good in this life and is blessed with joy because of it. And this is Kathy Larson. Our other guest is, hello, Kathy.
Hello, thank you for having us.
And Terry Feet is from the Louisville, Kentucky area, and she covers a lot of that part of Kentucky for JustServe. So Terry, please welcome to the Medlock Post. Kathy, welcome again, and glad you could be with us today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, there's a lot of happy things going on, and we try to bring that to people's attention. And so, Terry, let's start with you just a little bit. And Kentucky just went through some really bad flooding. So kind of give us an overview of your role in that and the role that JustServe.org played in that, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Yes, Kentucky has had 2 severe natural disasters within the last 8 months. We had the tornadoes in the southern part of Kentucky in December, and now we've had devastating flooding in eastern Kentucky. And we have, with JustServe.org, one of the missions of JustServe.org is to help communities come together, like you said, to be unified. And how JustServe.org accomplishes that purpose is by helping community members learn what is available to do as far as volunteering. And this can be anything from donating supplies, materials, and to actually volunteering on the ground. So the recent floodings in eastern Kentucky have, of course, impacted hundreds and hundreds of people in the Appalachian part of the state. And there have been many organizations that we have partnered with to post their needs on JustServe.org so that anyone can go on the website and see what is available for them to do as far as serving. And again, it can be anything from donating supplies to actually boots on the ground volunteering. The
Terry,
website is, yes.
Could
Yes.
you name some of the other partners? Can think of them off the top of your head, or?
Yes, for the flood relief, we have partnered with the Appalachian Healthcare System. There's an organization in a lot of these counties that have their own volunteer portals. So we have United Helping Hands from Pike County. We have partnered with Pikeville, Feeding America, which is a very large food insecurity organization here in Kentucky. We have partnered with them. We have partnered with Kroger as far as people can go to Kroger and donate supplies. Supplies Overseas, which is a medical donation equipment organization that has collected and delivered medical supplies to eastern Kentucky. Mercy Chefs, who are cooking and supplying food for those in need. Also, Red Cross and the Salvation Army. JustServe has national collaborations with these two organizations that are very much part of the disaster recovery. And then there's smaller organizations that are collecting supplies locally all throughout Kentucky that have been distributed to different counties in eastern Kentucky that have been affected.
Wow,
so those are just some of.
Yeah, that's just some of them, and so when you start putting this coalition together, this collaboration, the community comes together. Even though this was a disaster, and people are going to come out and help anyway, but there's a lot of cooperation. And after going through these disasters, Terry, how were the communities better or working together better, or an atmosphere had improved? Did you notice anything in those communities that you could relate?
Oh, absolutely. When communities come together to not only help themselves, but they are being helped by other citizens all across the country, and particularly in Kentucky, I think it gives them a sense of hope. It gives them a sense that people care about their situation, and it helps to alleviate some of the stress and anxiety of how am I going to eat today? Where am I going to find some shelter? So it absolutely brings people together in a way that nothing else really can. Because like you said in your opening, the scripture references when we are in the service of others, we're in the service of our God. And so bringing people together in volunteerism and helping our neighbor is, it's just nothing can really compare to that type of experience when you are there, boots on the ground. You're working alongside these homeowners who are there working with you to clean out and to help rebuild their lives. And so it makes a real difference not only to the people who are volunteering, but obviously to the people who need the help. And it builds those bonds of unity that just can't sometimes happen in other ways.
Yeah, because all of a sudden they're meeting strangers that have come distances to render service, to give of their time, their talent, their treasure to come help people in need. This is why I wanted to start with this, because it's happening now, and to be able to set a better stage of what we're going to talk about. Kathy, we haven't forgot you.
I'm still here.
Could you give us the JustServe initiative, the JustServe mission and vision, and basically now in a worldwide situation, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. We are starting to branch out into many countries. Of course, it started in the U.S. back about 10 years ago. Started in California as a beta project, and then it has spread. We've had many countries request. We're into Canada and Mexico now, in the UK, and then Australia, New Zealand, Hungary will be soon. Argentina and Spain are also on the books to come out pretty soon, but we're really trying to adopt this initiative so that the world globally can feel this kind of unity. It's so needed in the world today.
Well, it is, and I think let me read a quote from Thomas Jefferson. He says, quote, "I deem it the duty of every man to devote a portion of his income for charitable purposes," unquote. And then George Washington said, quote, "Let your heart feel for the afflictions and distress of everyone, and so let your hand give in proportion to your purse," unquote. So these are our founding fathers, not only building a great nation, but also setting a standard, asking the new citizens of a new country to take care of those in need. And so, in essence, we're carrying forth not only the Lord's work, but also carrying forth that of a nation that was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. So how does this apply to JustServe?
JustServe was... The founder of JustServe is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they wholly support this resource as a free resource for anyone who wants to use it, for organizations as well as for volunteers. There's no proselyting, no money exchange, no anything. It is really a gift, because we noticed that this unity was starting to fail in our communities. And we know from personal experience that this type of service bonds people together. The Lord didn't send us here as individuals to leave us alone on a mountaintop. He sent us here in families and in communities because we need each other. Some people may feel like they're always giving, but that's not the truth. We are hit with emergencies all the time, and sometimes we need to be on the receiving end of these types of services, and we absolutely need each other to be able to get through this life. And the Lord knew that. The founding fathers knew that, and this resource is there to support that.
Well, absolutely, and let me tell everybody that I was a JustServe specialist in the upstate of South Carolina for many years, worked alongside Kathy, and I've done nonprofit work my whole life. And when this came along, it was just a great opening to go into the community and to help the community and what's called enhance the quality of life in the community. And it's amazing going out there and setting up partnerships that Terry was referring to, setting up partnerships in the community with those that can give, like the Red Cross and Salvation Army. But also the Salvation Army in some places, they house homeless and things like that. So they have to receive. So it's a two-way situation there. But it's not always a disaster where JustServe comes into play. So Kathy, you want to talk about how JustServe just works in a normal basis in a community?
Sure. We just partner with nonprofit organizations, schools, churches, government organizations who need volunteers or item donations. When we do that, gather their information and we help them post their projects on JustServe.org. When you log on to JustServe, you can type in your location, and no matter where you are in these areas all across the nation, you can find local community service opportunities. And I would just invite everybody who's listening right now to just go to JustServe.org on your phone web browser and type in your zip code, and you can see what is there already that has been posted. We have an all-volunteer-based organization out there, and Richard had just mentioned that he was a JustServe specialist as well and a volunteer, just as I am, to be able to make these connections in communities locally. So our specialists are local, and they work within their communities to connect with these organizations who have needs for volunteers, and then post those projects and then try to get the word out saying, hey, to community members, there's this resource. It's great, especially for teenagers and young adults who need to build their community service hours. It's great for people who need to fill their time with purposeful projects or purposeful ways to make themselves feel like they have a meaning in their life. And so there's the opportunity to be able to connect needs with people wanting to give of themselves is there with JustServe.org.
All right, that's a great lead into this quote by Cheryl Esplin. She says, quote, all of us can incorporate some service into our daily living. We live in a contentious world. We give service when we don't criticize, when we refuse to gossip, when we don't judge, when we smile, when we say thank you, and when we are patient and kind. Other kinds of service take time, intentional planning, and extra energy, but they are worth our every effort. Perhaps we can start by asking ourselves these questions. Who in my circle of influence could I help today? What time and resources do I have? In what ways can I use my talents and skills to bless others? What might we do as a family? Terry, would you like to address this quote that I'm sure you're familiar with it?
Yes. I think everything in that is absolutely true. I think one of the beauties of JustServe.org is that it is for everyone. There are projects for families, for individuals, for youth, for seniors. There is such a variety, anything from if you're interested in food insecurity, homelessness, elder care service, parks and recreation. There really is something for everyone. And it does not, anyone with any passion for some type of service, no matter what their ability, even if they can only volunteer 1 hour a month or 2 hours a month, or maybe they want to find something that's consistent that they can do every week or every day. There really is something for everyone on JustServe.org. I also think that there are so many benefits to volunteering that can really make an impact not only on those who we're doing the service for, but for ourselves, for people who are volunteering. Many studies have been done that conclusively show that people who volunteer are happier. They have better relationships with people. They are just generally healthier. They are able to communicate better. So there's so many benefits, not just to those who are receiving the service, but for those who are volunteering. And I'm going to paraphrase a little quote because David McCullough, the historian and Pulitzer Prize-winning author, just passed away, but I was reading some things about him, and he said that the curious thing about selfless service is that it benefits more the person who's doing the service. And in so many ways, I think that's true. And JustServe.org is a perfect platform to find whatever your passion is, whatever your ability is, whatever your age is, there is something for you.
That's right, and that leads us, the quote you just gave, and then a quote by David O. McKay when he says, quote, "We are happiest when we contribute to the lives of others." And to add to that, Ayn Rand said, quote, "The virtue involved in helping those one loves is not selflessness or sacrifice, but integrity. Integrity is loyalty to one's convictions and values. It is the policy of acting in accordance with one's values, of expressing, upholding, translating them into practical reality." So a lot of people recognize from our founding fathers, even before that there are those in our communities that are needy and poor, and they need to be reached out to. And by doing that as an individuals, we become better people. And speaking of better people, I would like to check in to see what Henry Mueller is up to. So hold on here. Let's see what Henry Mueller is up to.
This Saturday, Henry Mueller will change the world. He has no idea that's what he's going to do. He only knows that he went to JustServe.org and signed up to spend time at a senior center Saturday morning. As he browsed through service opportunities in his own community, he remembered the words of Paul to the Galatians, "By love, serve one another." Little does Henry know that Saturday morning he'll end up speaking to one senior in particular who hasn't seen his family in several weeks and is feeling especially lonely. Henry doesn't know the short time he'll spend with this man will lift his spirits, cheer his heart, and make his life just a little better. Through love and service this Saturday, Henry Mueller will change the world. See the difference you can make. Sign up for service opportunities in your community. Visit JustServe.org. JustServe.org is provided as a service by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay, I guess you guys recognize that, right?
Absolutely.
That is a public service announcement that is played across the airwaves in this country and will be in other countries, I'm sure. And we have a couple more we'll play throughout the program. And as we look at living our lives, and before I get into that, I've got a couple of program notes I need to announce here. On tomorrow's show, August 23rd, our guest will be Diane Canada. She founded Lady Up America, and this is an organization that is trying to strengthen women as mothers and to strengthen the family, which is the core strength of our society. And so it will be an interesting conversation with her. That will start at 9 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. And then on Monday, August 29th, it is the 390th anniversary of the birth of John Locke. And that will be a very special program to look at John Locke, his life, how he developed his philosophy of freedom, and how it influenced our founding fathers. So there's a couple of notes about things that are upcoming. Make a note to make sure to tune into those. Benjamin Franklin said, quote, "I think the best way of doing good to the poor is not making them easy in poverty, but rather leading or driving them out of it." So this is a policy that I know the church follows, that many other organizations now have adopted, to not only, okay, let's help you now, let's feed you or house you, let's help you overcome something, but to bring people, with them doing their part, bringing them to self-reliance. Kathy, would you like to address that, how JustServe and self-reliance work together in our communities?
Sure. JustServe does a lot of things to help build someone's life. There are many, many benefits from service, and some of them that have been really studied in research are these, and I'll just kind of list them for you. Giving service increases self-esteem. How does it do that? Well, you're sitting home alone, you don't gain confidence in your abilities. You get out and you do some service. You may find that you're good at speaking with people, or you're very good at organizing, or you're good at seeing a need, problem solving. And so it builds your self-esteem. Another thing that it can do is help you explore careers. Especially if you're a young person, you can test the waters. If you want to get into medical things, you can go serve in a hospital or in some other kind of medical kind of atmosphere to figure out if you really feel like you fit into that world. And sometimes you discover that that's not for you. So you don't go down the path in school, wasting a lot of time and having to change your major in college or something like that. So it helps you to do some career exploration and decide the types of things that you're very skilled at or things that you're passionate about. Some other things that it does is help you make connections in the community. My favorite part about service personally is the one-on-one relationships that are built. In my bio, I listed the fact that I meet people all the time doing service that I normally would never meet. And I have been absolutely surprised by the hearts, the like-minded hearts that are out there in my community. I live in Madison, Alabama. I've lived here for 15 years, and it was not until I started serving in my community that I really, really felt like I belonged, and how I discovered how much I loved the people here. And that would never have come in any other way than my reaching out and doing community service. But making those connections has been very valuable to me. Another thing that it does is combats depression. The reason why it would combat depression is because it changes a person's focus from themselves and dwelling on those things that are making their life difficult or making them unhappy. And it flips that around so their focus is on how can I help this individual, or how can I serve this organization in a way that is going to make a difference. And when you discover that you are making a difference in someone's life, that depression goes away. It brings hope. It gives you a sense of deep gratitude for the things that you truly have in your life, and allows you to share those things with others. So it brings people out of some dark places if they can give up themselves and focus on others. I've got a whole bunch of things that I can give as a list.
Well, I think when we look at even someone that's even down on themselves or at home, but even with those that we are serving that do have needs, that might be homeless, they just don't have the income to support their family the way they should. I think when they have the opportunity to serve, then they might find out, I'm not as bad off as someone else.
That's true.
I think, well, I'm at the bottom. Well, then they find out they're not at the bottom, that there are others worse off than them, and there's something that they can give to them, even if it's just their time and energy, that can help lift them up. And then all of a sudden there could be a team there, a one-on-one team, that they are supporting each other to lift them up. Now, this is building unity in the community.
Absolutely.
And all of these things that we are talking about is building unity, and that is something that we really, really need to work on in our communities throughout America and other places today. Let me read some things from C.S. Lewis that you hit on, and he says, quote, "The proper aim of giving is to put the recipient in a state where he no longer needs our gift," unquote. Now, Terry could, and let me read one more by C.S. Lewis. I love him. Quote, do not waste time bothering whether you love your neighbor. Act as if you do, and you will presently come to love him, unquote. Now, Kathy hit on those, but Terry, is there some examples that you could give in your work through JustServe where you've seen people get blessed in their lives from others that they don't need that gift anymore from them?
Yes, I can think of some, but I wanted to just talk just a second about, loving your neighbor, because like in Matthew, we learn that to love our neighbor as thyself is one of the admonitions of being a disciple of Jesus Christ. And so in thinking about people who have been served and helped through JustServe initiatives, and then have been lifted up out of a situation, I can think of a couple particular things that, working alongside with some volunteers at the Goodwill. And this was not at a store. The Goodwill here has a program where they mentor and serve what they call second chance, people who have been incarcerated that are going through a transition, trying to find careers, trying to find jobs, things that can help them to reenter society. And several of us have served in that capacity in helping to do mock interviews and to help with resume building. And just to see the change in how these men and women are building their lives and how they are entering the workforce with confidence and with knowledge that they have that they're going to be successful in reentering society. And it's been extremely rewarding to see how through JustServe we were able to have volunteers come and give of their time to help others, and they've been successful, and it's been extremely rewarding. Another example, just kind of personally, I volunteer with an organization here called ElderServe, and one of the programs they have is extremely easy, but it's to call senior citizens who are homebound, and we just sign up. We call them once a week, and I had the experience. I had one lady on my route, I'll call it, that I called her every Monday for probably 4 or 5 years, and she passed away, and I talked to her son, and he said, you'll never know how much she looked forward to your phone calls, that it really changed her day. And so I feel like there are so many things that we can do to uplift people, to help them out of their situation, whether it's just a phone call or whether it's helping someone develop some skills and attributes that are going to help them lift themselves up out of a situation where they might feel a little bit hopeless. So those are just a couple examples of how finding opportunities on JustServe can uplift people from their situation.
Yeah, and there's many of those. Let me give one, maybe two, but something that we did for youth conference one summer. This was about 4 years ago, and we had an organization here that we worked with, Greer Community Ministries, and they do Meals on Wheels. So we organized it that the youth, and there was like 125 youth, would go out and they would sing to the senior citizens there, perform for them that were eating at the place, and then they went out and did Meals on Wheels. So this one group got to a house, they went up to the door, and the lady came, and they could see she was kind of down in the dumps, and they started singing a song that's favored in our church, I Am a Child of God. So here are these teenagers singing this song, and this lady started crying and was very appreciative of that song and, of course, her food for the day. So a little bit later, I get a call from the director at Greer Community Ministries, and he says, this lady that your youth went to and sang a song, I Am a Child of God, she called us and said they literally saved her life, that she was contemplating committing suicide that day.
Wow.
And because of service, she changed her mind. And so we never know what little act of kindness, what little thing that we're doing, it might mean nothing to us, but to someone else, it could change their life forever. So this is why this is dear to my heart. This is why my dad kept telling me that story about the little black boy that kept coming to the door one winter. And that is our role, it is our responsibility as human beings, no matter what religion you are, no matter what faith you are, or no faith, it is important that we consider others and their needs. Now, I think it's time that we look in on April Davis and see
this
what's
Tuesday,
happening with
April
her.
Davis will change the world. She doesn't know that yet. All she knows is that she went to JustServe.org and volunteered an hour of her time. Browsing through dozens of service opportunities in her community, April decided to spend her Tuesday evening serving dinner to mothers and their children at a transitional house. She doesn't know she'll be serving a particular mother and daughter who will be spending their first night in this home. April doesn't know that the hot meal she'll serve is the first this mother and daughter will have had in a week, or that the simple smile she'll offer as she serves them will help them realize that things are going to be all right. Which is why this Tuesday, April Davis will change the world. See the difference you can make. Sign up for service opportunities in your community. Visit JustServe.org. JustServe.org is provided as a service by The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
All right. Again, these public service announcements are probably put together because of experiences that we've just been talking about. Thomas S. Monson said, quote, love is a smile, a wave, a kind comment, and a compliment. Love is sacrifice, service, and selflessness. This is what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. JustServe, in my mind, is nothing but love of others. And going back to what C.S. Lewis said, just act like you love them, and eventually you will. And that love is reciprocal. When you love someone else, it comes back to you, and it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. Let's talk about during a disaster. There's something that's called helping hands. And Kathy, you want to address helping hands, or Terry, or you guys flip a coin, or even though one of you's in Kentucky and one's in Alabama. Kathy, why don't you go first, and then Terry, I'm sure will add to that.
Helping Hands is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints disaster recovery response. How it works is we use a resource called Crisis Cleanup and organize our members who have not been affected by disaster but are in fairly close areas around a disaster. We call up through our channels groups of people to come in, and what they do is about 1,000 to 2,000 people end up coming on a weekend. They camp out on the church grounds. They put up portable showers and things like that for everybody that come in. They provide their own gasoline, their own food, their own equipment, so it's all volunteer based. And the church actually provides equipment, and they are sent out on teams to do disaster recovery, which is basically clearing up any debris or fallen trees or mucking out a home that was flooded. I participated personally on several of these, and one that was very impactful for me was when I was able to bring my 2 sons with me down to Baton Rouge after their huge flooding several years ago. And we went to this one home, and I remember as I was clearing out this one room, picking up these little plastic barrettes from what I assumed was a child that lived there. And we were tearing down all of the drywall and ripping up the carpet and taking their furniture out to the road, and everything was piled up twice as high as a man stands of all of their belongings. And this is what the Helping Hands efforts do. They come in and they do this work of their own accord on their own dime to try to make a difference in one family's life, because they have been devastated. They have nothing left. And the same thing is happening right now in Kentucky. You know, as these waters start to recede, the groups of people from our church and many organizations and other churches come in and do this very thing. But we do it because our heart makes us do it. You know, it is, we have so much compassion for those individuals who have just suffered so much that we do everything we possibly can to make a difference in their life. You know, some people go around charging a fortune to clear out trees or debris. Organizations like Helping Hands and others come in and do it for free because it's what we can do to give back. And it's an honor and a privilege every time we're called up.
So building unity in the community. Terry, what do you have to add to that?
Yes, I'd like to add a little bit about the recent flooding and just give you a little idea of the extent of the service. This past weekend, our congregations here had 1,500 volunteers that went to Eastern Kentucky. And like Kathy said, they camped out. They're responsible for their own food. They were encouraged to bring as much of their own equipment as they could. And they were there from Friday midday until Sunday midday. And so that was over 24,000 hours of service just this past weekend. We've also been asked to come this coming weekend and the next weekend. So all told, that will be about 72,000 hours of free volunteer service. And like Kathy said, these are people who willingly are giving up their time, their money to provide their own transportation and food to help those who are in desperate need of help. And I've received videos and different texts from people who went down this weekend of just how grateful they were to be able to provide service, and the stories of just how they worked alongside homeowners and how they were able to make new friends. And to, when you're working alongside with somebody, you build that bond. And they've had wonderful experiences and been able to help a lot of people. So Helping Hands is such a wonderful resource. In 2008, we had some severe flooding here in Louisville and organized thousands of volunteers to go and help people clean out their basements, clean out their homes. And it's such a wonderful way to build that unity. And the people who are receiving the service are so grateful. Just wonderful stories of how people are just so grateful for the help. And like Kathy said, this is a service that is performed because our hearts are telling us to help our neighbor.
That's correct.
But we also, we also work with, there are other organizations that are there too, and it's great to work alongside them. We have organizations that have come from across the country, Rubicon, Samaritan's Purse, Red Cross, Salvation Army, Kentucky Emergency Management. We're fortunate here in Kentucky. JustServe is also a partner with Serve Kentucky, which is the state volunteer site. And we have a great relationship with them. We work alongside them with projects, and it's a wonderful collaboration between JustServe, Serve Kentucky, and the Kentucky Emergency Management System.
Well, that's a great lead-in to my next question, because I was going to ask, how can JustServe benefit local and state governments? And you gave an example there. Kathy, can you give some other ways that JustServe can benefit governments and cities and counties?
Sure. With our partnering with organizations in communities, a city could use JustServe as a resource. You could click on, there are some tabs at the top of the website. One of them is projects. There's another one that says about us. And then a third one is organizations. If individuals would click on that organizations tab as they're logged into JustServe, it will show them all the organizations that have partnered with JustServe. Say they're looking for a food pantry. They can scroll through that and see that as if it's, a local phone book almost. Those of us that remember what phone books are. and
don't remind us.
See these resources that are available locally. And so it becomes something that, social workers and police officers and other community-minded individuals who need to use these types of resources can point to JustServe to find these local organizations. There are ways that the city can partner with JustServe. In fact, here in Madison, Alabama, I have partnered with our city and have worked with the city engineers to create projects that the city needed to get done, but didn't necessarily have the funds to accomplish them. Things like planting trees in a runoff area for water so that the tree roots would absorb and take that water up and not, have some flooding issues. And then we've done other things like park cleanups and lots of different things. We cleaned the community center one time because it really needed an overhaul, and the regular janitors, didn't do the detailed type of cleaning. So we brought in, it was over 150 youth that came from high school clubs. They came in, and we just absolutely scrubbed the community center, and that was just something that was needed in our town, but it wasn't something that they had the funds to do, and it was a perfect opportunity for a bunch of youth to get together and really give some very good service, and then have some pride in their community center once they completed it. So we've had a lot of and city council people just really reach out to JustServe and use it as their volunteer resource for their community. It's great to put it on their websites and things like that as well to give people volunteer opportunities.
Well, and let's remind people, JustServe.org is free.
Yes.
If you're an organization, a nonprofit organization, if you're a school, she just talked about the community center. If you have a school that needs work done at the school, yard work or some work inside, this is a good place to promote that need, and it's free. You go to JustServe.org and scroll down to the bottom right-hand corner. There's a green box, and it says post or submit a project.
It says
submit a project.
Yes.
And you set it up. And also remember that this is based on zip codes, on locality. So, I'm here in South Carolina. If I wanted to see what was going on in Alabama, I would type in a zip code or a city name in Alabama and see what's going on there. I used to have companies call me, and they says, we're having our annual meeting and we want to do a service project for 100 employees. Well, I directed them to JustServe, and they were able to find what they needed. So corporations, it's great for corporations, for their employees to stay involved in the community instead of just giving something out of their check every month to the United Way or something like that. They can actually go out into the community themselves and be part of the community that build unity in the community. So there's so many ways that this is a positive thing.
Maybe we should review a little bit of the guidelines, Richard, so that organizations know what types of things can be put onto JustServe.
Okay, then
would you like
go
to
ahead.
do that real quick?
Yes, let's do that.
Yes, you were talking the best service opportunities are collaborative, the ones that we work side by side. So we work with faith-based nonprofit, community, and government organizations. We like to have, 501c3 organizations, those kind of things, but it's not imperative that we have that documentation. It's those that really make a difference in a community that we like to partner with. So those opportunities that we create projects for really need to enhance the quality of life in a community and assist the poor and needy. And then they shouldn't have any political or advocacy-focused ideas, and then it shouldn't be for profit, and it should not directly involve volunteers for soliciting or handling money. There's another list of some prohibited activities, but I just wanted to make sure that people understood that there is a wide variety that can use JustServe. We've had many projects that some people would question on there, but we don't discriminate. As long as they fit within these guidelines, these projects can be put on JustServe because every organization needs people.
Well, yeah, because you have hospitals and nursing homes that are not nonprofits, but they have needs.
Yeah.
So,
but as long as they're serving the patients, There's no benefit going to those organizations for a person to go in to visit someone or to, do something in particular for an individual. Then it's a great project.
Yeah, going in and decorating for Christmas at a nursing home. That's a great project for the youth.
Sure.
And Kathy and
go ahead.
Oh, Kathy and Richard, can I just add something to that as well?
Sure.
I think sometimes we think of volunteering as we need to go out in the community. We're going to get in our car. We're going to go somewhere. But one of the features that I think is amazing on JustServe.org is that people can do projects and be right in their home. So there are remote projects. There are projects that you can do on your computer. There are projects that you can do from your phone. There are projects that you can make at home, like perhaps you like to make quilts or tied blankets. So there are projects that you can do that you don't necessarily need to leave your home to go do. So again, there are projects for all capabilities, for all ages.
And thank you for bringing that up, because there are a lot of things, like you say, that you can do. And somebody might see something. I know there's in our area, there's a quilting club, and they meet at a Baptist church, and it has drawn in a lot of people from the community and from other churches, and they go in there and make all these quilts for all kind of people, and it's really great. So let's hold on a second here. We have a caller, and let's go to this caller and see if they have a question or comment here. Okay, caller, what is your name and what area are you calling from?
Yeah, my name's Joe, calling from Montana.
Hey, Joe, welcome back. Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Are you affiliated with the Hope Collection?
I have not personally heard of that, but I would love to hear more.
Okay. Well, I was reading a description page, and apparently you like to have people join together to form organizations so that they can help other people. Well,
Absolutely.
The Hope Collection, right, the Hope Collection at hopecollection.org has been doing this for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually have people, if you go to that website, they will have people who for free will provide help for the community, such as helping prisoners when they get out of jail, when people need housing, when people need food, clothing. I don't know how successful it is, but I took a look at the site. It seems legitimate. The talk show is interesting, and I thought maybe you guys were either affiliated with it or heard of it. But if your organization has the same mission as theirs, you might be interested in combining forces.
Yes, we should team up. Absolutely. We work with a lot of other organizations, United Way and others like that do the same type of thing. We just try to raise awareness and bring more people. It doesn't matter that it's listed on one side or another side. We're all doing the same work, and so we need to unify and collaborate. So thank you for sharing that. I'll get with my constituents in Montana. Is that the location of the Hope organization, or is it a national?
It's either national or international. Like I said,
okay.
If you go to hopecollection.org.
Hopecollection.org.
It's a very well organized site. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, Joe,
sure.
This is the type of calls that we need to inform us of the opportunities and the organizations that are out there in our communities, so that we can reach out to them, that we can create a partnership and provide more and more opportunities for service and build that unity in the community. And Joe is a repeat caller. He's always coming up with something just right, and he did today, and we really appreciate that. And
I'm the Blog Talk Radio savior. You didn't know
that? Well, we appreciate that. How's the weather out there in Montana today, Joe?
It's kind of unusual because it seems to me like the weather all around the United States is exceptionally hot. So Montana's not really any different. It has better weather than people think because people think that Montana is like the Antarctica in wintertime, and that's only for a short spell. But ordinarily, the weather's great. I mean, the view is great. The nature here is great. Which reminds me, you know what we need, and I'm glad that you and your associates have this type of organization and will collaborate with other organizations, because the more people that join organizations, the more visible you are. When you become more visible, other people will feel inclined to join. I would like to have private investigators and join organizations so that they can investigate Congress and put some of these bastards behind bars.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, we don't want to go down that road today. But, Joe, this is, again, you are enlightening. And thank you for being a listener. And we're trying to mix it up a little bit and to get a lot of encouragement out there in America. There's a lot of positive things happening, and JustServe.org is one of those. And Hope, sounds like the Hope Collection is one of those, and we will check into that, maybe even try to get them on the show and talk about their organization. And speaking of that,
well, you can go on their show too, because they have a talk show too. So both
okay.
of you can change. Yeah, can do simulcast or exchange guests.
Yeah, we can do that. Another program note is next Tuesday, the 30th. Kathy Larson will be back with us, and we're going to be talking about a big day coming up in September, and we hope to have a couple of other guests on with us that day to talk about it. But next Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, she will be our guest again. We've appreciated everything that she and Terry have brought to us today. I have one other area that I'd like to discuss, because this is almost the end of August, and not far down the road are the holidays. And that is very impactful for soup kitchens and homeless and other organizations that provide for the poor and the needy. And what do you see as a trend going into the holidays? And should we start now to plan on being helpful? And how does JustServe fit in to that scenario?
Absolutely. I think we should start now. There are many organizations that are starting to ramp up right now their donations for things like toys and blankets and other needs that people have during the holidays, food banks, things like that, because we've got Thanksgiving and so many other needs that happen during the holidays, just to make someone's day feel a little bit more special than just the average day of a lot of scarcity that maybe some people have. I'm thinking of one organization that we have partnered with in the past who supports children who are in foster care, and they collect Christmas toys and gifts all year long, and then those children in foster care turn in a Christmas list, like to Santa Claus, and they go through their building that has shelves and shelves of donated toys and try to fulfill that Christmas list for those children, and then give them out to the social workers, and they get those bags to the children. So yes, ramping up now is really important, because it takes a long time to stock those shelves and be prepared for what those holiday needs would be. So yes, please consider doing those types of item donations, or going and helping stock shelves, or organizing cans, at the food bank or anything like that, please consider that, because the holidays are important to do service, but prior to the holidays, getting ready for all of that takes a whole force of people.
Well, that's a great idea about the gifts, and I know the Salvation Army does that. So now is the time to start, even if it's a money donation, that they can buy the gifts and things. Also, another thing to look at now is to start doing coat drives, winter coat drives. Don't wait till it gets cold. Do the drives now, so you have them. They can be distributed before it gets cold. And
that's a great idea.
You know, a lot of people we'll wait till January and do a coat drive. Well, you know, that's a little late, but it will help. Also, a clothes drive and all sorts of many things that once you put your thinking cap on, the needs out there cover everything that you can think of. So that's what we're looking at. But I wanted to bring up the holidays to get working there. We're getting.
Can I make a suggestion before my app, before my phone dies? Because I'm only at 2% energy right now.
Hurry up, Joe.
Okay, I'm at your site right now, and I'm going to give you. I'm glad they have two examples there of how they express what you do. I'm going to briefly give you my assessment of both of them, and give you a little suggestion, being a former marketing director.
Okay.
Here's one that's talking about what you guys do. And I'm quoting, JustServe has greatly improved our ability to recruit volunteers by giving us the opportunity to easily post our volunteer needs on JustServe.org. It is only through the generosity of these volunteers that we are able to help those in need in our community. She's the executive director. That's her quote.
Of what organization did she?
Of JustServe.org.
No, she's the director.
Oh, beautiful community food pantry.
There you go.
So, okay. Now, here's another quote. This is from the St. Vincent de Paul Dining Hall in SLC. We prepare and serve over 1,000 meals every single day. Volunteers are a fundamental part of what we do to ensure services for low-income and homeless families, or individuals. We're always looking for volunteers and are excited about the prospect of JustServe. Now, the difference between both of them is that both are the truth, but one is more nebulous. Our ability to recruit volunteers. People listening to your show or at the website are going to go, yeah, well, how many, and what do they do, and so what? The other one gives very specifics. We prepare and serve over 1,000 meals every single day. That is more powerful because people looking at that will say, hey, you know what? This organization is legit. This organization is doing something. So I just wanted to say both of them are telling the truth. But in terms of people who go to sites, that which is more specific, I'm down to 1%, that which is more specific will have a greater impact. So if you tell your web designer that, because most web designers are not SEO or internet savvy. They design websites so that people can read them but don't know anything about stickability, getting visitors, etc. So I thought I'd say that before I leave. Again, I'm a former marketing director. Internet marketing is not my specialty, but this kind of copywriting or appealing to an audience is.
Okay.
So, all right. So I think I'm going to go. Sure, I'm going to go and charge my phone now. So.
All right, Joe. Thank you very much. And look forward to some more calls from you down the road.
All right. Take care, guys. You guys are doing good work. Hope people get a hold of you and other communities like you, because I think a lot of people want to contribute to society but just don't know how.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate
you.
Sure, I'll call back another time. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
So, Richard, just kind of going on what he said about the hopecollection.org and partnering with these types of organizations, maybe we can talk a little bit right now about at our headquarters level, at our national level here, well, I guess it's global now, we have what's called a JustServe Advisory Council that helps us and advises us as to how to provide the best types of service for nonprofits. So there are a lot of different charitable organizations we've partnered with at our headquarters level, and I can just list a couple of them. We have people sitting on this advisory council. They meet once or twice a year and collaborate and try to give JustServe ideas how to better support their organization. And we have the vice president of the American Red Cross. We have the commissioner of the Salvation Army. We have the president of Med Global. We have the CEO of Catholic Relief Services, the CEO of America's Service Commission. We have the CEO of Rotary International, the national commander of Salvation Army, CEO of Israel Aid, and the president of National VOAD. All of those individuals are sitting on our advisory council and have really discovered how JustServe is working to support organizations and, have invested that time and effort into backing JustServe. And so we really value those relationships and the collaboration that's going on, even at the headquarters level from these organizations.
And I think what happens is a relationship will be built on a local level with, say, the Red Cross or Salvation Army or some other organization. Now we're looking at like Hope Collection, could be a local connection. Then that can build to a national collaborative situation. And the same thing like with Samaritan's Purse and Catholic Charities and all these organizations that we've worked with on a local basis and on a national basis now. So it is a growing situation. It's a growing initiative that is taking place in America and now around the world. And it's something to hop onto, folks. It's something to look at. And I want to finish out because we're about to run out of time. I want to finish, and first I want to thank Kathy Larson and Terry Feet for giving their time to be on the program today and to just enlighten us so much on the work of JustServe.org and its impact, positive impact in building unity in communities. But I want to finish with some questions for everyone to think about in their life. And it's how do we connect our Christian beliefs, our faith, whatever that might be, to serving in the community? How do we connect our faith to serving in the community? Can we become a tool to make life different for someone else? How can we see things differently? How can we put the Christian principles to work? Can we develop life of outreach and embracing others? Do we put ourselves in a position to be asked to do something important? So these are some questions that I'd like to wrap up with and have you think about as we wrap up the program today. It's been a great program. And ladies and gentlemen, you can go to blogtalkradio.com/the Medlock Post. And this is episode 41. And it's titled Building Unity in the Community. And all of our other episodes are there too if you'd like to listen. What a wonderful day. Kathy and Terry, you were above and beyond and what you contributed. Thank Joe for calling in. We are out of time, folks. We need to say goodbye, adios, and that's all, folks, for the Medlock Post. And let's go out listening to a little music. And Kathy and Terry, have a great day. We will be in touch soon. Kathy, we know you'll be here next week. So have a great day, everybody. Let's get it on.
Thank you for having me.